Good morning. Thank you very much, dear Chair, dear guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me express my sincere gratitude to the United Kingdom for its dedication to gather the world leaders together to make the COP26 the most significant global climate meeting since the historic Paris Conference to happen. We all can agree that not much time is left for us to fundamentally reshape development patterns, to change our living habits and restructure our economies on a sustainable basis. If we ignore the challenges standing before us, catastrophic consequences will follow for the environment and for the overall human safety and development. Careless and unsustainable way of economic growth is what has triggered the climate change, environment degradation, generation of waste and pollution that damages ecosystems. It is apparent that floods, avalanches and other natural disasters became more frequent. This negatively affects not only human well-being but economies as well. COP26 demonstrates enhanced and assured will of world leaders to take a confident action towards fight against climate change, and I strongly believe that by working together, we will rise to the challenge of climate crisis. In this sense, what matters is our actions today as well as our plans for the future. The 1992 Rio Declaration on Environment and Development defined the right of the people to be involved in the development of their economies and the responsibilities of human beings to be safeguards to the environment. The declaration built upon the key ideas concerning the attitudes of individuals and nations toward the environment and development. We are all aware that long-term economic progress can only be assured if it is linked with the protection of the environment. Therefore, we, the nations, must establish platforms involving government, people, and the key sectors of society to protect the global environment with responsible development. In this regard, environmental democracy is essential as an adequate and equitable consideration of citizens' interests in environmental and national resource decision-making. From the perspective of Georgia, a developing country and the representative democracy in the Caucasus region, it should be noted that we are dedicated to adopt domestic legislation to the emerged environmental policies and principles, enabling us to address the challenges faced both locally at the national and globally at the international level. In 2001, Georgia assessed the Aarhus Convention, which envisages accessibility to the environmental information, civil engagement in decision-making process, and access to justice related to environmental matters. Besides, I want to emphasize that I'm honored to chair the Bureau of the Meeting of the Parties and the Aarhus Convention Working Group for more than 7 years. In the frame of domestic legislation, Georgia has adopted Environmental Assessment Code, which fully complies with Aarhus Convention. The code established contemporary public participation system in decision-making regarding activities which may have significant effect to our environment, including mandatory proactive public placement of relevant information, two-stage public hearing and appealing mechanisms. Furthermore, the Constitution of Georgia itself recognizes the right to environmental protection as a fundamental human right. The Constitution also provides mandatory rule of accessibility to information about the environment and participation in adoption of decisions related to environment. In order to enhance efficiency of environmental legislation and provide good governance practices, the Environmental Committee of the Parliament of Georgia is the front runner to exploit parliamentary oversight mechanisms, which are carried out through the active public participation. Georgia has conducted reforms aiming to implement sustainable environmental legislation, new forest code, which establishes sustainable use of forest resources, law on environmental liability that established new regulations regarding prevention and mitigation of environmental damage. Waste Management Code, which created legal framework in the field of waste management and established extended polluter responsibility principle. We adopted plenty of laws regarding establishment of a new protected areas. Considering Georgia's whole size, it is essential that the area of the protected areas in the country increased approximately by 200,000 hectares in the recent years. Georgia has committed by 2030 to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions by more than half compared by its 1990 levels. For its part, Georgia will achieve this by diversifying its renewable energy sector, expanding the share of the wind and solar segment in its energy market, transforming the country's urban mobility, developing low-carbon approaches in the construction, industry, and the waste sectors. Every country needs to be serious about urgent action in this decade. Georgia is committed to working with all countries in the multilateral framework to ensure a safe and secure world for the future generations. It is my sincere hope that COP26 will serve as a huge step forward in fight against climate change. Thank you very much.